bright duty. Every student matters.
Now coming to the part 2 of the story. All over the world, Charlie, Mr. Wonka went on. I tracked down very old and ancient animals and took an important little bit of something from each one of them. So Willy Wonka is telling Charlie that I have travelled almost all over the world and I have tracked down. Tracked down means found by searching for it. So I tried to find almost every small ancient animal or any living thing which existed so that I could pick up something or the other of that particular thing to invent, so that I know that this is the particular thing which is the oldest, which lived for the longest. And then he says that I have taken an important little bit of something from each one of them, as in something or the other I have picked up from each of the particular things I found to be the oldest. What has he picked up? A hair or an eyebrow, or sometimes it was no more than an ounce or two of the jam scraped from between its toes while it was sleeping. So Willy Wonka says, I have collected some of the other things from the oldest things I thought ever existed. The things which I could collect were either a hair or even an eyebrow, or sometimes it was just some kind of scraping from between the toes when that particular thing or a person was sleeping. I tracked down the whistle pig, the bobolink, the squawk, the polyfrog, the giant curlicue, the stinging slug, and the venomous squircle, who can spit poison right into your eye from 50 yards away. So Mr. Willy Wonka, he is saying that I actually found down few animals or few species which were actually considered to be very old. And then he started giving the examples. He tracked down the whistle pig, the bobolink, the squawk, the polyfrog, the giant curlicue, the stinging slug, and the venomous squircle. Venomous means poisonous. So he says, I tracked down so many species. The venomous squircle is so poisonous that it can spit poison right in your eye from even 50 yards away. It's that venomous. But there's no time to tell you about them all now, Charlie. And then he says, I'm short of time. So I cannot tell you about all these right now. Let me just say quickly that in the end, after lots of boiling and bubbling and mixing and testing in my inventing room, I produced one tiny cupful of oily black liquid and gave 4 drops of it to a brave 20-year-old Oompa Loompa volunteer to see what happened. Now Willy Wonka, he is telling Charlie that I collected, I tracked down species like these which he has already mentioned. And then he says that I do not have time to tell you about all this right now, Charlie, but I can tell you that at the end of whatever I got, by mixing them, by boiling them, by experimenting, by boiling, by bubbling, by mixing, keep on testing, a lot of testing, finally I could make up a small, tiny cupful of oily black liquid. He actually could produce some oily black liquid from all these things, and he produced one tiny cupful of this black liquid and gave 4 drops of it to a brave 20-year-old Oompa Loompa volunteer to see what happened. So he said that I produced that small oily black liquid, I have given 4 drops of that liquid to a volunteer. who was 20 years old, who was brave enough to get it tested on him. Oompa Loompa probably means somebody who is very casual about life, I am assuming. A brave 20-year-old Oompa Loompa volunteer. Volunteer means who comes by himself to get anything tested on him. So he said that I've given 4 drops to this volunteer, this fellow who was 20-year-old boy, just to see what happened. What did happen? Charlie asked. Charlie was curious. Charlie wanted to know what happened then. It was fantastic, cried Mr. Wonka. Cried as in shouted in excitement, not cried in tears, but shouted in excitement. He said, it was fantastic. The moment he swallowed it, he began wrinkling and shriveling up all over, and his hair started dropping off and his teeth started falling out. And before I knew it, it had suddenly become an old fellow of 75. Then Willy Wonka tells Charlie that it was fantastic. My product, my magic potion, actually worked. But the moment he swallowed it, just after a few moments, he started aging. His skin started getting those fine lines, those wrinkles. His hair started falling down. His teeth started falling out. Before I could actually realize what was happening, he suddenly turned into an old fellow of 75 years of age. And thus, my dear Charlie, was Vita Wonk invented. So then he says that finally I invented Vita Wonk. What was the first magic potion called? Let's come back to the chapter, the first 2 lines. What was the name of the first magic potion? What was it? Wonka Vitae. Correct? Let's come back.
So it will be Wonka, Vitae, and Vita Wonka. Right?
And he is really proud of himself, and he claims excitingly, he tells Charlie very proudly that finally this is how I invented Vita Wonk. Alright? The story was written by Roald Dahl from Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. This is the fiction novel, and the story was picked up from it. It was written by Roald Dahl.